a short subject, but today we're going to talk about, it's not normally something that I talk about, but I found it interesting nonetheless. Or I should say interesting. I found it talk-worthy, I guess, for lack of a better phrase. So I guess it was last night or over the weekend, the WNBA had their All-Star game. And they were all wearing shirts that said, pay us what you owe us, I believe is what they said. And all of them were wearing it. And so that got me thinking. Because how is the WNBA going to wear shirts that say, pay us what you owe us, when they're losing approximately $10 million a year? They're not a profitable company. Some years they've probably lost more than that, but I think I heard $10 million. Maybe that's what they lost last year. How are you going to ask the NBA, who's the one that's funding the WNBA, to pay you more when you're not even profitable? But the NBA is taking a loss. It was either between 10 or 40 million. I can't remember the exact number. But the NBA is going forward at a loss. I'm like, how are you in any type of position to ask anyone to give you more money? And they're talking about, well, it's not off the profits, it's off the revenue. Okay, but the NBA is losing money from the WNBA. So what are they going to give you? They're not making money. But you, if you're good as an individual basketball player in the WNBA, you're making money off of jersey sales and autograph signings and appearances and all that fun stuff that athletes do. So I'm a little confused how they can ask for more money when the NBA is losing money and has lost money, I think, from the get-go with the WNBA. How are you going to ask for more money when the NBA is not making any money? They're losing money. They're running at a deficit. That's the word I was trying to say. They're running at a deficit. So I just think it's appalling for these players to ask the NBA to pay them more when they're not even profitable. How does that work in any real life company? If your company is not profitable, you're in no position to ask for more money. In fact, they're going to try to cut stuff so they can make themselves profitable, if not get rid of it altogether. So I'm trying to think what makes them any more special than any other business that's not profitable. So when a company is not profitable, they're going to do whatever they have to do to make themselves profitable. And in most cases, that's making cuts, that's firing employees, that's taking away things that, perks, or, maybe some things people liked, maybe, whatever it is, they're going to do what they need to do to get, to get back into a profit margin. Why would a company that's running on a deficit give the employees more money? Only the government does that. But a private business does not work like that. Last time I checked, the WNBA was owned by the NBA, which is a private organization. When does a business give a company that's running on a deficit, or a division, or whatever you want to call it, more money? What gall do these women players have to ask for more money when their league is running at a deficit? I'm confused. I'm a little confused by that. It takes a lot of gall to get everybody to wear the same t-shirt and promote that you owe us something. The NBA don't owe you nothing. They're giving you the platform to play. Be grateful. Because before the WNBA, women had to play overseas. So for one, you're ungrateful. You feel you deserve more than you actually do because your product sucks and you're not making money. So why would you feel that you need more, that you are owed, as their t-shirts say, more money? Why would you even let that come out your mouth? Be glad you can still play in the WNBA, that the WNBA still exists. Because if the NBA was smart, they'd get rid of the WNBA because it's not profitable. What kind of business operates in a deficit and does not make money? What kind of a business does that? Last time I checked, the NBA was a business just like every other business, and they need to make a profit so their business can stay in business. I just don't understand. I just don't understand. Only the government gives employees raises and running on a deficit. What are we, 31 trillion deficit in this country? And we're steadily, giving folk more money, steadily giving them bonuses, steadily giving them all these things that we all as federal employees benefit from. But we run at a deficit. And the only reason that we're able to run it as a deficit is because we print money. Or we charge more taxes. That's the only way the government is able to continuously run it at a deficit. Because any real business is not going to run at a deficit. They're going to have to make cuts and changes so they can get back to being profitable. That's any business. I don't care what it is. Even hospitals have to be profitable or they're going to close down. Insurance companies charge so much because in the end they're a business and they have to be profitable. Even when they have to give money away to cover things, they still have to be profitable. I worked at a VA hospital. The VA hospital is a business in the end. But because it's a government-run business, it can continue to run at deficits. Because it's the government. But like I tell people all the time, the VA hospital is still a hospital. And if you're not a service-connected veteran, you're going to get a bill. It doesn't matter if you're a veteran. If you're going to the VA for something that you are not service-connected to, yes, you can go to the VA and get medical care, by all means. But you're going to get a bill. So don't be shocked or surprised or, whatever, or all upset because you get a bill. You're getting a bill because you showed up at the VA for a non-service connected appointment. I go to the VA and only go to the VA for stuff that's service connected. When I go to the VA appointment, I go for a service connection. That's it. I don't go for anything else. And if I have to go for anything else, I'm going to get charged for it. I'm going to get billed for it. Anything that I go to the VA for that is not connected either directly or indirectly to my disability, I will get billed for it. That's common sense. I don't know why these folk don't understand that, but they never did understand it. They come complaining that, I wasn't supposed to be charged for this. No, you were supposed to be charged for this because you came, and I did this. This was part of my department. You did a colonoscopy. Your colonoscopy is not a service connection. You just decided to come to the VA because you get all your other care here. So you decided to come to the VA to get this done, and that's fine. But you're going to get billed for it because getting a colonoscopy is not part of your service connection. They couldn't understand that. How could you not understand that? If you'd have went to a private hospital, you got billed for it. But because you don't get billed for all the other stuff you come to the VA for, what does that got to do with anything? You're still going to get billed for something that's not one of your service connections, or is not a direct result of your service connection. It's just that simple. And so this is what I'm talking about when I talk about the WNBA. They have the gall to ask the NBA for more money. And they're running at a deficit. And I think they've been running at a deficit from the get-go. But nobody wants, the NBA doesn't want to make the hard decision. The NBA doesn't want to do any of that stuff. They want to continue to have the women's league because it's in quote-unquote, as they say, in their best interest. But all they're doing is cave into societal pressures because it's not in the best business sense to keep the WNBA. If the WNBA is not profitable, why does it still exist? Something is not right. And that something that's not right is people don't want to watch women playing basketball. It's just that simple. People don't watch women's basketball. Just like they don't watch women's soccer. Women's sports as a whole don't get the same traction as men's sports do. It's just the way it is. And I'm not saying women shouldn't have sports that they can play. I'm all for women's sports. But as a business, if the WNBA is not profitable long term, then you need to get rid of it. Yeah, you might have some years that are better and worse than others. That happens with any business. But if it's not profitable, why are you continuing to support it? If the viewership numbers aren't where you want them to be, why are you continuously supporting it? Why? That's a bad business decision. The NBA is making a bad business decision every year they allow the WNBA to exist. It's a bad business decision. And you would think the NBA, just like any other business, is about their bottom line. Because in the end, it's about the money in any business. If you're not profitable, you're not going to stay in business. But I guess that doesn't apply to the WNBA because they're afraid of society and what'll be said about them. Well, you hate women and you don't support women's sports, which is the farthest from the truth. But it's a business. In the end, it's a business, and the business has to be profitable for it to continue to exist. That's the same with Walmart. That's the same with the small business. That's the same with anything. Only the government can run businesses or run anything in a deficit and keep on going. And not even think twice about it and still give people raises and everything else. Only the government. Because that's what we've been doing for decades. The government has been running at a deficit for decades. Again, we have a $31 trillion deficit, I believe it is, in this country. But yet we're still running government. We're still able to do the work that we need to do for the government. Even though technically we have no money to pay any of the federal employees, to support any federal jobs, to support any federal functions at all, technically. And for years, we refused to cut the government. In this new administration, the president is cutting government to try to, recoup some of that money that we're using to pay employees and to, put into services and all this other stuff. So he's making those hard cuts to try to recoup that money back into the coffers, so to speak. And of course, it's a long-term project. It's not gonna be solved in his 4 years. But so that's what I got to say about that. I think it takes a lot of gall for these women athletes to wear shirts talking about pay us what you owe us when you're not even making a profit. So the NBA is under no obligation to pay you anything more than what you're getting paid now. In fact, what they should be doing is cutting your pay. But nobody wants to talk about that. Well, no, you can't talk about women athletes. Yes, you can. The business is not making a profit. That means you're losing money. Something has to change. You're not getting the viewership. People don't want to watch women's basketball. Because if they did, it would be profitable. The NBA would not be losing money. I'm just saying. You don't have to like it, but it's the truth. Because people are looking at it from a social lens, but they're not looking at it from the business lens. It's a failing business. Why is it still functioning? Why is it still going? It's a failing business. It's a failing business. It's a failing business. Society has pressured the NBA to continue a failing business so that they feel women are represented. Well, you're obviously not represented very well if the WNBA is running on a deficit. That means you're not doing your job either. That means the competition is not good because people aren't watching it. And that's as a whole. I'm not saying there are not good individual players, because there are good individual players. But individuals can only do so much. The NBA is doubling down, tripling down, because they're creating new teams. Why? Why are you creating new teams in a failing business? You think that put more money into a bag with holes in it is going to improve the product? No. The product is horrible. That's why people aren't watching it. That's why the business is not profitable. The WNBA is horrible. If it was so great, then it would be profitable. Period. You don't have to like it. That's the truth. Like any business. For all y'all business owners out there, you know that's true. You can't continue to run a business that continues to run at a deficit year after year after year. You can't. It's not sustainable. It's not sustainable. You're going to have to make cuts. You're going to have to fire people. You're going to do whatever you have to do to try to save the business. And if that don't work, then you got to shut it down. All business owners know this. This is not rocket science. This is not rocket science. This is common sense. The WNBA is a for-profit business, just like the NBA is, just like the NFL, NHL, MLB, whatever. Major League Soccer, all of those are for-profit businesses. Because if they don't make money, they're going to shut down eventually. Look at the USFL, the World Football League. All of them failures. They failed as businesses. It's not that they didn't have good players. It's that they failed as a business. People were not watching and coming out to see the games. Current spring and the new spring football league that's out now. It's been out for a couple of years. If it gets to a point to where they start running at deficits year after year, they're gonna end up, stop. It's gonna end up quitting. They're gonna end up quitting. They're gonna end up shutting it down. It's just that simple. It is just that simple. Just that simple. People just, I just don't get people. I just don't get people. It just doesn't make sense to me. So anyways, I'm done with that. I just wanted to kind of bring it up. Let me know what y'all think about the WNBA. Do you watch it? Do you care about it? Do you think it's failing too? Do you think it's a success? I don't know how you think it's a success, but do you think it's a success? Let me know what y'all think in the comments. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell if you like what I'm talking about. Share if you think it'll, if you want somebody else to hear it, just do your thing. And I appreciate each and every one of you all. Viewing my videos, liking my videos, commenting on my videos, all that. I appreciate each and every one of you. Subscribing, I appreciate y'all. You didn't have to, but I'm grateful that you did. And so I do appreciate y'all. I really do. So again, let me know what y'all think about the WNBA and them asking for more money. Let me know what y'all think. I'll end it right there, and until next time, y'all, God bless you.